Hey everyone, I'm your all-around education policy guy, Paul Richmond.
And I'm author, speaker, and California Teacher of the Year, Alex Caggiatani.
And it's time now for the Donald J. Trump Some of the Above Education News Comedy Quiz Podcast.
Whoa, wait, what?
Yeah, it's true, Alex. We tried to resist, but the president and his team have demanded that his name be added to the title of our show.
Ah, well, that explains why none of the incredible guest contestants we had invited to be on this month's show were willing to come on.
Yeah, well, that and the fact that, it was a busy holiday season, so you and I didn't want to disturb anyone over the break.
Ah, so Paul, you forgot to invite guests, didn't you?
Well, yeah. But by the way, though, we hope everyone out there had a great end of the year, and Happy New Year's to you, Alex.
Yes, yes, and Happy New Year's to all. And so, for this first quiz episode in the new year, since we don't have any guest contestants, we thought we'd offer some follow-ups and updates on stories we've discussed on the quiz, and some additional fun facts. Tie up some loose ends, cross some T's, dot some I's, and all of that.
Ah, so sort of like some podcast admin time?
Yeah, but a lot more fun than that.
All right. Well, I like it. Let's get going.
All right. So during our last episode, we asked a question about a school district in California that is one of a growing number doing away with traditional letter grades for students. The A through F system, because they're moving toward more competency-based grading. And after a hearty conversation with our guest contestants, educators Katie McKnight and Richard Cash, Katie turned the tables on us with a question of her own about grading.
We didn't previously get a chance to air this, so here it is now.
So now I'm going to switch it on the quiz masters here. Does anybody here know what the origin is of A, B, C, D, and F?
Right.
Does anybody know? It's really actually a very interesting story.
Clearly somebody who wasn't that into the letter E, that's for sure.
That's exactly it. So here's the answer. I'm glad that you asked. The answer is that back in the day when Oxford University would have tutors. And so let's say that I'm a tutor. Well, I wouldn't be because I'm female, but let's just imagine that I was one of the tutors. And so, and the three of you are my tutees. So what tutors were paid per student that they tutored. So one genius scholar at Oxford figured out, one of the tutors, that if I could grade levels of student work, then I could actually handle more students. And he looked for inspiration from cobblers, from shoemakers. So you have A grade shoes, B grade shoes, C grade shoes, etc. And the better the cobbler you were, if I was wealthy, I could afford to go to an A level cobbler. If I wasn't, I would go to a C level cobbler. So they got this idea from cobblers and using A, B, C, D, F grade work. And so that's where the origin of grading comes from, as far as using letter grades and that. It actually comes from cobblers, from shoes.
Wow. From now on, when I look at my shoes, I'm going to think of grading papers.
So just so you know, I did follow up on Katie's grading origin story, and it does appear to check out.
Ah, so wait, you were questioning Katie? She is not going to like that, Paul.
I know, man. She's going to argue with us. But, just doing some due diligence, which I do think she'd appreciate. And I found sources bearing out that in the 1790s, a tutor at Cambridge University named William Farish did indeed borrow the practice of grading the quality of shoes made in factories and started applying it to students as to whether they'd made a certain grade. Letter grades for students really didn't start to become a thing in the US, though, until about a century later, in the 1890s, when it started in colleges.
Ah, well, hey, FYI, he was actually from Cambridge, not Oxford. So maybe an important distinction for our many UK listeners who we know support the show.
Yeah, shout out to those UK listeners.
UK.
All right. Another thing that came up in that quiz conversation about grading was why there is no letter grade of E for students in the current A through F system. So, Alex, I'm going to ask you now to see if you did any extra credit research over the break. Do you know why there's no letter grade of E?
No, but I have a feeling you're about to tell me.
Well, if you had at least guessed, I could have given you an E for effort.
Ah, dang it.
But the answer is, originally there was a grade of E, but it got dropped over time because some students began thinking that the E stood for excellent. According to Slate, in one of the earliest letter grade systems in the US at Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts, the lowest grade was in fact an E, which represented failure. But administrators soon changed the failing grade to an F because professors worried that students would think the grade stood for excellent, while F more obviously stands for failure.
Wow, and they didn't have similar concerns over, say, a grade of B, which could stand for bungled or below average, or I will admit, in my case in high school, a B stood for booyah! Another spirited conversation we had during the quiz was with sixth grade teacher John Arthur and school counselor Lori Woodley about a strange and very specific study on the movement of classroom furniture. Let's have a listen. All right. Well, John and Lori, we have a few more questions from the headlines for you. John, a new Cornell Physics Department research study has offered at long last compelling evidence that classroom furniture does what?
Puts you to sleep.
Close.
Makes you uncomfortable?
I'll give you a clue. Creep, creep, creep.
Creep.
And no, I'm not calling you a creep.
I was going to say, is it like meep? No. Golly, I need another clue, Alex. This one's tough.
Well, if you just repeat after me, creep, creep, creep,
creep.
That's right. You
moves.
You got it. It slowly moves forward. It slowly moves forward throughout the school day towards the front of the room. It actually creeps. This monumental study investigated factors related to what it called the mysterious phenomenon of forward progressing student tables. The research reveals that desks on carpeted floors are particularly prone to movement, especially in science classrooms with taller and younger students.
This, again, of course it moves. Kids lean into it all day. Like they put their elbows down and they do this. It travels that way. Oh, give me a degree. I'm ready. I'm ready to publish a paper right now.
Someone chose that as their study. That's probably.
According to the study's synopsis, while the results may seem trivial, they provide critical insights into the mechanics of classroom furniture behavior and its implications for educational practices. Kind of sounds like something you might write, Paul. Maybe something for your new book. The paper offers evidence that classroom furniture has, quote, a mind of its own.
No, it doesn't. It has children motoring it. That's not a thing. This is I got a seriously strongly worded letter I need to write right now. It's not classroom furniture. You put a bunch of 11-year-olds in office furniture, they'll move it too. By they're just leaning into it and like kicking their legs and stuff. It's not a phenomenon. I want to accept the fact that this is what happens when you take creatures that are supposed to be out there in nature and you force them into these shapes at these desks. They're gonna move.
So I really wanted to bring this topic back, Alex, because interestingly, just the other day, I came across a research paper about teaching practices between 1890 and 1980 that talked specifically about school desks.
Huh. Is that what you policy people do for fun over the holidays?
Yeah, well, I didn't get a lot of gifts this year. But anyway, this one item, it did catch my eye because back in the early days of public schools, school desks were in fact bolted to the floor. They were arranged in rows facing the teacher and the blackboard, and they were bolted down so kids literally could not move them. It wasn't until the 1930s that unbolted desks became sort of a commonplace thing in classrooms.
Well, when we talked about desks creeping forward, I actually remember experiencing that phenomenon when I taught. The students' desks always seemed to be inching forward, but, I always thought that it was just my students becoming more and more interested in the lesson and pushing closer to hear every word I was saying. All right, Paul, I have a question for you. What product celebrated its 18th birthday just last year?
Can I have a clue, Alex?
You can. It's an iconic product. I bet you even have one in your pocket right now, and so do I.
I'm going to say the iPhone.
Yes, the iPhone turned 18 last year. So if you think about it, every current K-12 student has now been born into the iPhone and smartphone era. And according to a study done in 2023, about 9 out of every 10 students who are 13 or older now owns some type of mobile phone.
Wow. And, with all the recent cell phone bans in classrooms that states have passed, I do worry about that 1 in 10 kids who still doesn't have a cell phone. I mean, when it comes time for the ban each morning and they don't have anything to put in the storage sleeve or to lock up and all eyes are on them, that can be tough. I mean, we don't want a student to feel bad or stigmatized because they don't have a phone, right?
Right. Well, maybe the school could give that student a lukewarm breakfast hot pocket or something to put in the storage sleeve during cell phone ban time.
Yeah. And hey, by the way, Alex, do you know what they call that one student out of 10 who doesn't have their own mobile phone in high school?
What?
Valedictorian.
Oh,
hey,
that's right. Hey. Another question we delved into on the quiz had to do with a certain state adopting some highly questionable new social studies standards. We have an update on this, Paul, but first, let's go back and listen to our question from the episode with guest contestant and education policy expert, Janelle Kubanek.
So a few more questions from the headlines. Janelle, this next one is for you. The state of Oklahoma recently approved new social studies standards championed by State Superintendent and former history teacher Ryan Walters. These new standards require students to buy into what recent unproven theory?
Oh, gosh. Let's see. This is Oklahoma.
Let me know if you want a clue.
Well, unproven theory. Yeah, give me a clue.
Well, it has something to do with federal elections.
Oh, this is the that the elections were stolen, or that they were that the outcome of the election is in question.
Right. Oklahoma's new social studies standards will ask high school students to identify, quote, discrepancies in the 2020 election results. So the previous Oklahoma standard for studying the 2020 election asked students merely to, quote, examine issues related to the election and its outcome. But the new standards oddly and specifically ask students to, quote, identify discrepancies in 2020 election results by looking at graphs and other information, including the sudden halting of ballot counting in select cities in key battleground states, the security risks of mail-in balloting, an unforeseen record number of voters, sudden batch dumps, and the unprecedented contradiction of bellwether county trends. All of these are in the new standard.
Wow, Paul, you had me at sudden batch dumps. So, when we raised this question, it turns out it was not the end of the story.
No, not at all.
Former Oklahoma State Superintendent of Schools Ryan Walters had pushed for these new, factually deficient standards, and they were adopted by the Oklahoma State Department of Education. But according to press reports at the time, half of the department's board members said the originally proposed standards had quietly been changed after they initially reviewed them. Given that, a group of Oklahoma parents, grandparents, and teachers asked a judge to nullify the standards, alleging that the state failed to follow its own rules for transparency when approving them. And, Paul, guess what?
What?
Well, the Oklahoma State Supreme Court just recently decided that the controversial academic standards for social studies are, drumroll please, Tommy, unenforceable because the state school board did indeed violate open meeting laws.
Ah.
According to the Oklahoma Voice, the court decided to permanently nullify the social studies standards, which, in addition to the dubious claims about the 2020 election, had sought to require public schools to teach Bible stories and claim that COVID-19 was created in a Chinese lab. Social studies standards approved in 2019 will remain in effect while the state education department develops a new version under the court's order.
Wow, that is a very positive development. Although it does mean that sudden batch dumps will once again not be a term on any final exams, which does make me just a little bit sad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ah, that music is, of course, from our very own in-show band, Tommy Dunbar and the Dangling Participles. Happy New Year's to you and the band, Tommy.
Another question we asked last year related to new state laws requiring that the 10 Commandments be displayed in classrooms. We have an update on this topic too, but first, let's listen to when it came up on the quiz with guest contestant Jose Luis Navarro. All right, Jose, this next one is for you. Which is more, the number of states that have passed laws requiring that the 10 Commandments be displayed in all public school classrooms, or the number of states that require the U.S. Constitution to be posted in classrooms? So is it more commandments or more constitutions?
I would say more commandments. More states have passed legislation wanting more and more 10 Commandments posted rather than the Constitution.
And you are correct. More states require the 10 Commandments to be displayed. 3 states have now passed laws. Louisiana was the first in 2024, followed by Arkansas and Texas this year. The new laws are already being aggressively challenged in court.
So, an update since we asked this question. 2 different federal judges in Texas have now ruled that Senate Bill 10, which was passed in Texas in 2025 and requires that the 10 Commandments be posted in every classroom, is, drum roll again, please, unconstitutional. In November, a federal judge ordered about a dozen Texas school districts to remove any displays of the 10 Commandments in classrooms. A separate preliminary injunction was also issued to 11 other Texas school districts in August. And meanwhile, last summer, in a unanimous decision, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit ruled in New Orleans that the Louisiana law requiring public schools to permanently display a government-approved version of the 10 Commandments in every classroom was also unconstitutional.
You know, All this focus by the legislatures and courts reminds me of the 11th commandment, Paul, which is, thou shalt not screw with a teacher's bulletin board. Well, Paul, there's one more quiz story we wanted to follow up on. This one involves a topic we covered all the way back in our first episode in May, when you asked Teacher of the Year Lindsay Jensen a question, and the topic keeps popping up in different ways.
So first question is to you, Lindsay.
Okay.
And the statistic is $1 billion. Is this A, the amount of money, $1 billion, that teachers in New Jersey spent out of their own pockets last year on essential supplies and materials for their classrooms? Is it B, the amount of grant funding that the U.S. Department of Education recently canceled mid-grant for school districts to hire additional school counselors and mental health workers? Or C, is it the amount of money Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan decided not to spend to keep their primary school open?
Wow. I am going to go with choice B.
You are absolutely correct.
Woohoo!
Yes.
I mean, it feels wrong to be cheering for this.
Yes, it does.
Like, I'm elated that I got the question right, and then also bewildered by this statistic.
Yes.
Oh, man.
In its zealousness to cut programs, the U.S. Department of Education stopped funding 2 grants aimed at increasing the number of mental health professionals who work in schools, saying that the approximately $1 billion in grant awards made under the previous administration now conflict with Trump administration priorities. And these funds were authorized by Congress in the 2022 bipartisan Safer Communities Act. This particular program is just one of the many educational programs and grants that the administration has moved to cancel, cut, withhold, claw back, postpone, defang, or, choose your own verb.
Oh, man, there are so many verbs to choose from when it comes to the funding or defunding actions taken by the federal administration in the past year.
Absolutely. But we have an update to this particular grant program. And again, it involves the courts. So according to K-12 Dive, a federal judge in mid-December ordered the permanent reinstatement of U.S. Department of Education mental health grants in 16 states that had sued the feds, ruling that the April cancellation of the funding was, drumroll please, unlawful. According to Washington State Attorney General Nick Brown, who led the state's lawsuit, the mental health grants had helped schools hire 14,000 mental health professionals who provided mental and behavioral health services to nearly 775,000 K-12 students nationwide just in the first year of the grant, helping to reduce wait times for students needing help. The grant program originally started after devastating school shootings. In her recent order in State of Washington versus U.S. Department of Education, the judge took the Education Department to task for politicizing the grant program. Her ruling stated, quote, "Nothing in the existing regulatory scheme comports with the department's view that multi-year grants may be discontinued whenever the political will to do so arises. The permanent injunction prevents the Education Department from issuing new priorities or irrelevant information to judge the mental health grant applications. And additionally, the court said it will oversee compliance with this order."
Wow. This ruling and others we've mentioned could potentially bode well for other plaintiffs suing the administration over canceled grants.
Yeah, in these past 12 months, we've seen a lot of dubious actions by the U.S. Department of Ed. So while it takes some time, the courts are now seeming to put a check on at least some of those.
Ooh, I feel like maybe we should rename our show the Education Litigation News Comedy Quiz.
Yeah, I mean, if that doesn't roll right off the tongue.
Well, that's all the fun facts and follow-ups we have for now. We certainly hope you've enjoyed these updates to some of our recent quiz questions and stories. As always, we're grateful to you for listening.
And we'll be back next month with actual guest contestants from the world of education so you can continue to learn some, laugh some,
and litigate some.
That's right. And thanks as always to our in-show band, Tommy Dunbar and the Dangling Participles. Until next time, Alex.
Until next time, Paul, and may all of your canceled grants be reinstated. Booyah!